How's it going, guys? I'm Bradley,
I'm James,
and this is our podcast on A Tale of Two Cities.
so let's get into it.
Okay, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Dr. Manette's letter and how it correlates to the rest of the story.
In Dr. Manette's letter, he states that on December 22nd, 1757, he was rapidly approached by a carriage in the middle of the night.
When this carriage stopped, the Evermond twins stepped out and approached Manette.
After introducing themselves, they asked him to join them in the carriage.
And while in the carriage, he had asked why he was being taken, and they said it was to go help a few patients out.
Once he was taken to the peasant's house, he saw a horrific sight.
There was a young woman who was traumatized physically and mentally, a young man who was stabbed mortally in the abdomen, their father who had died because of heartbreak and exhaustion, and finally her husband who had died because he was worked to death.
Dr. Manette started to help them as best as he could. The woman kept stating, "My husband, my father, and my brother," and then would count to 12 and say, "Hush."
While he was tending to the young man, he asked what had happened, and he revealed the secret that the Evermond twins were the ones that caused all of this. Unfortunately, the young man and the woman ended up proving their injuries were fatal and passed away.
This led to Dr. Manette trying to contact the authorities, which ended up not working out. The twins tried to bribe the doctor to be quiet, and he did not listen. With their power, they put him into the Bastille without a trial, which led to his 18 years of imprisonment.
Dang, James, so what do you think about that?
I think it's pretty wild, especially how someone can have so much power to just be able to put someone in prison with no trial.
I know, that is pretty crazy, man.
How do you feel about the whole situation, Bradley?
I agree with you. It's kind of crazy how he was the one being kidnapped and then he got sent to prison. Okay, guys, the next thing we are going to be talking about in Dr. Manette's letter is when he cursed the Evermond bloodline, and that led to a whole bunch of other stuff later in the story that we will cover.
Dr. Manette's daughter, Lucy, ends up marrying a man named Charles Darnay.
We find out later that Darnay promised to tell Dr. Manette his real name in exchange for allowance to marry Lucy.
When he tells the doctor what his real name was, we figure out that he is the son of one of the Evermond twins, and the other twin is Darnay's uncle.
This leads to a problem because now Dr. Manette has cursed his own son-in-law and he knows it.
Darnay was arrested, but Dr. Manette's reputation saved Darnay and led to him being acquitted.
And then after they stormed the Bastille, they went to Manette's jail cell and ended up finding his letter that he wrote while locked up.
This letter then led to Darnay being arrested again because of the contents of the letter. The contents being the curse put onto the Evermond bloodline.
Again, since Dr. Manette had such a great reputation, they would listen to his letter and would sentence Darnay to execution by guillotine. What adds on to the problem of cursing the bloodline is the fact that Darnay married Lucy and had a little girl introduced as Little Lucy.
So now that means that the revolutionaries are going to try to kill Lucy and Little Lucy, and Dr. Manette needs to try and fix this. Madame Defarge is the surviving younger sister of the peasant family and does everything in her power to try and take down their bloodline.
Her husband, Ernest Defarge, is also a revolutionary but isn't as radical and believes that they should not hurt Lucy and her daughter since they had nothing to do with it, and he respects Dr. Manette.
Due to the fact of Darnay being arrested again and being sentenced to death, Dr. Manette ends up relapsing and wants his workbench back because that is the only thing he's comfortable around.
This is where everything starts to fall apart and starts to head towards the end of the story. Earlier in the story, a guy by the name of Sidney Carton promised Lucy that he will do anything for her or the people she loves. We will dig deeper into Carton in just a moment.
Darnay being on trial doesn't even sound right. Is he even a bad guy?
No, he has never shown any bit of being a bad person. Kind of insane to think that his own father-in-law's wishes from 18 years ago are finally affecting him, even though Manette didn't even mean it.
Yeah, I actually can't believe that he got sentenced to death.
It's crazy. Okay, guys, now we're going to talk about Sidney Carton.
Carton attended Darnay's first trial, where he helped Charles get acquitted, because of how similar they look and they couldn't prove that it was Darnay.
And after that, Carton took Darnay out for a meal where they revealed their mutual feelings of not liking each other all that much.
Carton later on in the story revealed that he had feelings for Lucy and said to her that he would do anything for her or her loved ones.
This will all play a big role later on in the story. Since Carton loved Lucy and he said he would do anything for her, he decides to befriend Charles since they were married.
The next big thing that Carton did in the story was start the big plan to help Darnay get out of prison for the third and final time.
Carton's plan was to blackmail Barsad to get into the prison.
And since he looks like Darnay, he would use his looks to swap places with him so he can ultimately save Darnay so him and Lucy could be together again forever with their daughter.
Eventually, Carton, who was thought to be Darnay, was brought to the guillotine and was unfortunately killed in front of the crowd.
After Sidney's death, Dr. Manette, Lucy, Little Lucy, and Darnay all escaped back to England with the help of Mr. Lorry.
And at the end of the book, we get an insight into what Carton was seeing, and he saw that Lucy and Charles ended up having a kid and named him Sidney.
Sidney Darnay went on to be a lawyer and then a judge and would fulfill what Carton couldn't.
And ultimately, Sidney Darnay would end up restoring the reputation of Carton. Alrighty, James, now that we have gone over the letter and its importance to the plot of the story, what is your overall reaction or response to it?
I think the note really is important, and it makes so much possible in the story. Without the letter, the story would have been so much less impactful, and it just added so much more backstory to the characters.
It sure did.
So, Bradley, how did it make you feel? Or what was your reaction to all of it?
It was such an emotional roller coaster, James. So many amazing moments, but yet so many saddening times as well. I truly do think it was a great book, and I love how it all came around into a full circle towards the end. Would I recommend it? Maybe to someone who is a pretty decent reader. But myself, I had a struggle trying to understand it most of the time. Okay, guys, we just want to thank you for your time and for listening to our podcast about Dr. Manette's letter and how it all correlates to each other.
We hope you guys can join us for our next episode when we talk about the storming of the Bastille.
Have a great rest of your day.